And finally, we've made it to the last standing pose in our sequence. Obviously, there's a lot more standing poses, but I think for beginners, there's only so many of them that we can string together without destroying our body. So the last standing pose is very similar to warrior one, but you guessed it, with a very significant difference. So remember, in warrior one, we had our stance, bent knee, 45-degree angle on the back foot, sinking through the knee. The Ashta Chandrasana, or Crescent Lunge pose, is a high lunge, meaning that we are lunging forward. So this is how this pose looks. Now, what's the difference between what I want? The back foot, instead of being fully flat on the floor, we are standing on our toes. Now, this introduces a lot of difficulties for those of us who are challenged with our balance. But the good news is that by going through those wiggles and wobbles, we are actually building up the muscles necessary to keep our stability in our hips. So the next time you're going to be sliding on the ice or going on a slippery floor, you will have more stability, better developed muscles in your hips, in your joints, to support you and prevent you from falling. So there's a big component of injury prevention in all of the yoga poses when practiced properly. There's also a big component of injury creation, but we're not going there because I'm teaching you how to do these poses the right way. So the Ashta Chandrasana, or Crescent Lunge, once again looks like this. And same idea, you can take your cactus arms, you can take your hands to the hips, and the number one challenge, as I said, that you will have to deal with is the balancing part. So how do we get into this pose? Well, same idea, starting with Tadasana, raising the hands to the sky, standing sideways. The front foot pivots and points to the front of the mat. The back, and then we're going to turn forward, bending through the front knee. We're going to lift the back heel. So lifting the back heel and then pivoting on the toes so that we can have a nice square set of hips facing all the way to the front. Now, once in this Crescent Lunge pose, you can play a little bit more with the width of your stance. Obviously, if your feet are on one line, your center of gravity is going to go all over the place. You're not going to be as stable. So what you can do here is you can create a bit more width in your stance, and it's going to give you a little bit more, actually significantly more stability in the stance. So once you found your stability, adjust your shoulders. Make sure you're not trying to reach all the way too high. Shoulders should be nice and relaxed, and the front knee is bent. Now, if this gets too challenging, you can always extend your knee, take the pressure off the quads, and then sink back in. Now, excellent stretch for your hip flexors. You are really working your hip flexors here. You can feel them stretching. At the same time, your quad is going to be super engaged. It's going to be on fire. And trust me, when you're doing this pose as the last pose in the sequence of standing poses, you're going to really feel it. And that's an excellent thing because you are getting stronger. So anytime your muscles are going on fire, start wobbling and shaking, good things are happening. So holding our Crescent Lunge pose, the gaze is nice and straight ahead, adjusting the arms as we need to, and at the same time trying to prevent our torso from folding forward or curving back. So it's a nice straight 90-degree angle, soft shoulders, working on eliminating the wobbles in our hips. And to come out of this pose, hands go back to the knee, and we're going to spring forward and step into Tadasana. So let's recap. From Tadasana, hands go to the sky, step in sideways, the front foot facing forward, bending through the front knee, pivoting on the back toes, sinking a little bit deeper, maybe widening the stance a little bit wider. Hands to the sky, relaxing the shoulders. And this is your Crescent Lunge pose. And to come out of this, step forward. So what we're going to do next is we're going to string all of these poses together into one beautiful flowing motion where we're going to go from one pose into another, connecting them all together, and then linking it to the rest of the practice which we have learned. The preparation, the breath, the sun salutation, which will naturally warm us for the standing postures, and then this standing pose sequence. But before we do that, I invite you to learn another concept called playing the edge.